Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the year again. We've got Ireland in the right corner, Malta in the left corner. Who will win? Who will fail? Two non-dom tax countries in Europe. Let's see who wins. This is Tax Wars. Hello everyone, and today, let's get ready to rumble! We've got Ireland versus Malta. This is a long-awaited video. I've been wanting to do this for a very long time. These are the two countries that we talk about the most when we talk about non-domiciled tax regimes in Europe. Obviously, Cyprus is also in the mix, but most of our clients are usually interested in either Malta or Ireland if they are looking to resettle to a place permanently. Cyprus is usually more interesting for those looking to be digital nomads because of their great 60-day tax residence scheme. If you want to know more about that, we have a wonderful video about that. Feel free to check it out. Now, Malta versus Ireland. So what happens in these two countries? So these two countries have a strong British influence and heritage when it comes to their legal systems. And obviously both of them have this special distinction between domicile and residence. Most of you watching this video doubtless think that those two concepts are interchangeable, that they're synonyms, but actually they're not. Domicile refers to your homeland. It refers to the center of vital interest. It is usually linked to your father's domicile, so where you are from. There's a whole connection that has to be established from a cultural perspective, whereas residence is simply the place where you live, physically speaking, so the place where you have your physical dwelling. Two very different things. So in both of these countries, there is a legal distinction between two of these concepts, or both of these concepts, I should say, rather. And it is very interesting because each one of these countries has given it their own spin. On the one hand, Ireland, just like any self-respecting non-dom country would do, allows you, if you're a non-dom, to essentially only pay tax on your locally sourced income and on income that is remitted to Ireland. Now, you do have to be careful. Ireland does impose some very strict measures when it comes to what they consider remittance. So most people think of the most obvious example, which is, okay, if I have money in my Miami account, my Bank of America account, and I wire money to my Bank of Ireland account, that's remittance. And yes, you'd be correct. That is the most simple, obvious case of remittance. However, if I have my Bank of America account and I'm using my Bank of America travel rewards while I'm living in Dublin as a non-dom, that's remittance as well. If I buy a beautiful Mercedes-Benz in the Germany Munich Auto Show and I bring it back to Ireland, guess what? That's remittance. So Ireland is very strict on this point. When it comes to Malta, Malta is also very similar. It allows you to basically only pay tax on Maltese source income, and it also allows you to only pay tax on foreign source income if it is remitted to Malta, meaning that in both cases, both Ireland and Malta will allow you to have your foreign source income untaxed, provided that it is not remitted to their respective territories. Now here we have our first point, major point I would say, in favor of Malta. While both countries have strict remittance rules, and Malta has similar ones to the ones I described for Ireland, Malta has this big one for you, which is no tax on capital gains, even if they're remitted to Malta. So what does that mean? If you are an investor, if you own stocks, my stock guys, I always say hi to you guys. There you are again, forefront of my videos. If you're a stock guy, if you're a crypto guy, if you develop real estate overseas, or if you buy, you fix, you flip, then Malta definitely has a major advantage over Ireland. If you decide to be a non-dom tax resident of Ireland and you have substantial capital gains overseas and you remit those capital gains to Ireland, those are fully taxable in Ireland. However, if you decide to be a non-dom tax resident of Malta, then there, obviously, you can benefit from what I just described, and those capital gains are 100% tax-free in Malta. So point number one, Malta. Now, round two is coming around, and Ireland isn't pulling any punches, and here comes the big element in favor of Ireland. Ireland has a more straightforward path to citizenship. So here I'm basing this analysis on how long it takes to naturalize under regular circumstances as a citizen of Ireland or Malta. Obviously, Malta has its citizenship by exception program where you can donate and invest close to $1 million and you can become a citizen of Malta in as little as 18 months. But that is a special program that is beyond the scope of the natural, or I should say the regular naturalization process. So if you were to follow the regular procedures, just like anyone would, being a lawful resident of each country, Ireland has a much more clear, much better defined, much shorter path to citizenship than Malta does. And Ireland's passport let me tell you, it's pretty cool. Like, it's the only country in the world as of now whose citizens can freely move to any country in the European Union, who have privileges when moving to Switzerland, which is not part of the EU, but part of the Schengen area. But those same citizens can also move to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. It is the only country that has access to both group of countries, the Common Travel Area Agreement on the UK and the British Isles side, and the European Union. So I would say that's pretty exceptional. Malta does not have that. So not only would I say the Irish passport has this slight advantage for what it's worth when compared to Malta, but there is also a better path to citizenship under regular circumstances. If we circle back then for round 3 and we continue discussing all these differences between Malta and Ireland, the other thing we can look into is some kind of lump sum minimum contribution that is required for non-domiciled tax residents. And here, again, I would say Ireland has the advantage, but only slightly, because this is a very close fight. So in Malta, you will be required, provided that you are earning at least 35,000 euros in foreign income, you will be required to pay a minimum per annum amount of 5,000 European euros. Now, granted, 5,000 European euros is not a huge amount of money, but it is an annual contribution you have to make. Now, this applies mostly to EU citizens who can freely just move to Malta. And if you want to get a residence permit as a non-EU, non-EEA citizen, that minimum contribution, depending on the residence permit you decide to get, might be bumped up to 15,000 euros. So do keep in mind that to benefit fully from Malta's non-dom regime, you will very likely have to deal with some kind of minimum contribution. Around comes Ireland, and Ireland does not have a minimum contribution. If you simply live in Ireland and you do not remit any kind of income to Ireland, and you just live off your locally sourced income while you're there, then essentially you have to pay no minimum tax compared to or in relation to your foreign income. So I would say this is a slight advantage for Ireland here. And I would say slight advantage only because the minimum amount in Malta isn't that high. If the minimum amount in Malta were higher, I think they would give a greater advantage to Ireland, definitely no questions asked. In addition to that, it is also possible in the case of Ireland to bring in what we call clean capital before you move into Ireland. Many of our clients have done that. That is also an interesting alternative, which again gives a stronger advantage to Ireland in this regard. Now, obviously, the other element that we would like to consider is tax treaties. Now, here, both Ireland and Malta do have tax treaties with basically any major country you would want to invest in. So it's pretty much a draw. Let's talk a bit about general lifestyle and weather, because obviously epic tax wars, epic tax battles is important, that your lifestyle, the way you decide to enjoy your tax-free income is also very important. So what do we have here? We have that Malta has a beautiful, warm Mediterranean climate. And listen, I will admit it, I'm a bit biased. You know, I was born and live in Venezuela. I live right next door to the beach. I love the beach. I love yachting. I love having beautiful gourmet meals right by the sea. So for me, having that wonderful Mediterranean climate in Malta, that's a pretty big draw for me. So I would definitely favor Malta in that regard. And I think universally warm, sunny weather tends to win over colder, rainier weather. Although I do know some of you out there like that more, like more of the fall sweater weather. But I would say overall for most people here, Malta will definitely have an advantage. So that's 1 point for Malta. In addition to that, I would also consider things such as local culture. So for example, Ireland is an Anglo-Saxon country, obviously, with Celtic roots and a lot of Celtic influence. Obviously, the origins are completely Celtic. But the important thing here is that it is more culturally linked to places like the United States, like the UK, like Canada. So if you're watching this video from a New York, a Toronto, a Miami, you might potentially feel more closely connected to Ireland than you would to Malta, because you will find similar traditions. You maybe have some Irish heritage yourself. In fact, just, small announcement here, we also have a great citizenship by descent service. So if you happen to have an Irish grandmother or great grandmother and you want to claim that citizenship by descent, feel free to contact us, nomadcapitalist.com/apply. We'd be more than happy to look into your ancestry and let you know if you can somehow qualify for this wonderful passport just by simply having an ancestor. Now, for the non-dom regime, that may make things a bit more complicated. It is usually safe to assume that a non-citizen foreigner moving to Ireland can always qualify for the non-dom. It isn't as clear-cut if you are a citizen of Ireland. However, it is not impossible for a citizen to qualify as a non-dom. So definitely, if you're interested, nomadcapitalist.com/apply. Anyway, heading back to that. So I would say Ireland does have a stronger cultural appeal for somebody from North America. So I will give that slight point to Ireland. However, if you are watching this videos for somewhere in the Mediterranean region or maybe Latin America, then definitely Malta comes in here at a stronger position and with a stronger advantage. In addition to that, in terms of languages, I think while both countries are very interesting, in Ireland you have obviously English, and then you also have the local Irish language, which is extremely interesting, especially if you're a big fan of Irish mythology, as I am, of Celtic mythology, as I am. But I would say here Malta definitely has a slightly higher advantage, because in Malta, you will find that a sizable portion of the population speaks Italian fluently. You have Maltese, which is a very interesting language that has a lot of elements from Arabic mixed into it. Obviously, English is very important on the island. It is widely used as an official language due to the fact that Malta was part of the British Empire for a very long time. You also have a significant minority of the population that apparently speaks French very fluently. So I would say that overall, if multiculturalism and growing up in a multilinguistical environment is important to you, then definitely here I think Malta does come at a stronger position and does have an edge over Ireland. So bottom line here, who wins, right? Final round, Malta or Ireland? Well, I said this in the last video, but it's the truth. You know what the answer is? It depends. Depending on who you are, depending on what your family's objectives are, if you even have a family at all, or if you're just a single guy, depending on your roots, depending on where you come from, depending on how important languages are for you, depending on what kind of income you have, if it's capital gains, if it's a foreign business, if it's whatever, then either Ireland or Malta might be the ideal choice for you. But you know what's cool? That there is one place where you can find them both, and that's Nomad Capitalist. Nomad Capitalist can help you move to Ireland, can help you move to Malta, can help you move to Cyprus, or anywhere else where you might find tax favorable conditions. So to find out what place is the right place for you, for your specific case, nomadcapitalist.com/apply, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and follow us on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next video.